Hi, I'm Casey Lueders, and this is Could Be Pretty Cool. If you've been watching the conversation around AI in music and feeling somewhere between curious and uneasy, you're in good company. Even we're still trying to map out what's actually possible out here. Today's guest actually sits in a pretty rare spot. Neal, who goes by Atlas, has spent about 16 years working across both the music and tech industries, from building blockchain rights management tools in his startup days to his current work as CTO and product lead for Prompt Genius, an AI company in the entertainment space. He's a product person, a technologist, and a working music maker, which means he sees this from all sides at once. We get into where AI fits in the music industry, why he doesn't separate a product from the people who build it, and what he thinks artists should actually be paying attention to right now. And his take might not be what you'd expect. Let's get into it. All right, so today's episode is exploring an area of the music technology, music industry world that, in truth, I am still trying to figure out. What are even the possibilities? And fortunately, we have someone on the show who knows things, and we always appreciate that. So, Atlas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Very welcome. I am always glad to talk to you, Casey. It's always really fun. So
Great. I hope so. So, first question, if you could introduce yourself and let people know a little bit more about your background and what it is that you do.
I go by Atlas. I have been fortunate enough to have a career in both the music and tech industry for going on about 16 years now. So I got started when I was in my early 20s in developing technology for the music industry with my first few startups, and had those till I was in my 30s around the quarantine. We were doing blockchain music at the time, so that was really great. Rights management using blockchain in the music industry. Then COVID hit, shook everything up, and I had the opportunity to work as a consultant, specifically as a product design and architect consultant for a lot of different startups between, let's call it 2020 and now. And taking my skills that I had to learn in my startup days with my startups and applying that to other people's startups too. And that's what I've really been doing for till right now, to this very day. For the last, let's call it 2 years, I've been working in AI applications in the entertainment industry. I've been fortunate enough to also see how those technologies are applied in other industries too, like healthcare, real estate, and whatnot, what have you. And applying some of the things that I've learned from the people that I had a chance to work with in the entertainment industry has been really rewarding for me, but that's where I'm at right now.
So, blockchain technology in the music and entertainment industries. If there's anyone else listening who's, what does that mean? Or what could that mean? We're in the future now. What is this? Can you explain a little bit more about with the applications that you have either created or worked on? What exactly does that mean?
In the past, we were using that technology, blockchain specifically, as security, and we were just to keep it super simple. But we're essentially giving people who make music the ability to make music and put all of the information from all of the rights management information. So your split sheets and whatnot and contributions to a particular song, and pretty much just logging it in a blockchain ledger as you create it. That's where I got my start. It was very different for me at the time because, man, I was coming from being going to Norfolk State for music production and media, and then jumping into the entertainment tech space, and I had to learn how to be a I had to learn how to be a tech professional while still being a music professional, right? And when we start talking about these technologies and how they're applied in this industry, I kind of got a crash course in doing it. Blockchain was really difficult at the time because no one cared. I'm being super frank right now, but absolutely no one cared. because most people had heard about blockchain and the cryptocurrency. So that was the most anybody really knew about it at the time. And we were really ahead of the curve. I'm so grateful I had that experience because I'm grateful no one really cared. And I say that not because it's like it's fun or it's cool to say in the sense of being a hipster about it. I say that because in retrospect, I learned more through the struggle of trying to make something work that I knew in my heart of hearts would work and did work. It did what it was supposed to do. It was just, we were so ahead of the thing. And it's not so much that we didn't have competitors. We had plenty of competitors in the space at the time. The problem was is the world wasn't really ready for that. The industry wasn't ready for that. And all of those people who were doing that have all fizzled out of that space because it was really, we met a lot of challenges. Myself and my competitor and all those people who were doing it at the time met a lot of challenges from just the education gap. If I hadn't have gone through that as a, as not just as a tech professional, but also as a music industry professional, if I hadn't have gone through that, I would not have been able to pay my bills the way I've been able to pay them for the last 7 years. I would not have been fortunate enough to have the knowledge of how to build something in obscurity and it still work, and then how to do so with customers and really get unbiased and unfiltered information from them to really help make a sticky product. I wouldn't be good at my job now if I had not had gone through that.
I think that's something really important for our listeners to hear. In particular, lots of artists are starting to dabble in different areas of tech, whether it's just learning to vibe code or just doing some stuff they thought about trying, but they thought they would need a developer to do it. And yes, that learning curve of just, oh, this isn't what I thought was going to happen, or this is crazy, is so necessary sometimes when you're jumping into especially brand new spaces. Speaking of jumping into, I guess it's not brand new now, but spaces that are ever developing for artists and creators, AI. You mentioned that you're currently doing work in the space with AI, and particularly in the music industry, there is a lot of talk and conversations. Some people are like, oh, this technology is great. It's going to help us do things we could never do. And some people are like, boo, I'll never, boo AI. Just would love your thoughts there on where you fit in when it comes to AI technology in the music industry.
Okay, so as of late, I have been the CTO and product lead for Prompt Genius, which is a new company. It's only a year old. It was started by Gerald Keys, who's been a it would take me all day to really talk about all the things that he's done behind the scenes in the industry and in front of the screen in the industry, but he's been a very big part of some notable people's careers in the music industry. And working with him, I've met him when I had my tech company when I was in my 20s is when I first met him. So it was kind of serendipitous that we came around now. The interesting part about what I do with that, and it is all connected, right? Like my experience before, I had to fight for usership. I had to figure out how to make a product that's sticky in an industry that is tech averse. That while being tech averse from a literacy perspective, it's completely dependent on technology. It's interesting. And this might be, some people will don't agree with this take, but it's okay because I did the work. They can kiss my ass. But the reality is, since Napster, the music industry is kind of like adopted technology at an infrastructural level. There's no part of it that's not tech enabled, right? And in that regard, AI and how it's gone into the industry is no different than how other technologies have come into the industry. One of the things as an educator that I had to learn, which I'm grateful for my time as a professor, because that taught me what the next generation really thinks about before they go into the field, which completely changed my life. I'm so grateful for that opportunity. What I learned was people identify things. They don't identify the why, they identify the what, especially in this industry, right? If I were to tell people, okay, who's Sean Parker? They have no idea who Sean Parker is. No idea. But they've heard of Napster, right? They've heard of Napster. They know that Napster had something to do with the music industry completely changing with digital downloads, stuff like that. They can identify those things. They might not know the founder of a company, but they might use that founder's product all day long. And that's the place where we've come to with AI. I remember being in college with my professors in school, and they hated Pro Tools. They absolutely hated it because they were analog musicians from back in the day, right? They played for the Yacht Band and they played for Earth, Wind, and Fire. And they were like, this digital stuff, that ain't real music. Real music is when you can play, baby. You do all this. Cool. In retrospect, I'm seeing the exact same reactions from my industry today as my elders and my professors and my teachers who had been in the industries in the 60s and 70s felt about Pro Tools when I was in college.
Do you really believe that this is another wave of a technological disruption that is going to completely change the way that the music industry operates? To your point, we haven't gone, some people still record on analog to get a, sense of nostalgia, but the industry standard is Pro Tools. That's what it is now. So do you believe that we are now experiencing the next seismic shift in technology?
Yes and no. And I say there's a reason why I say that, right? Pro Tools became an industry standard and it has maintained its station as an industry standard, even though there was a lot of people had problems with Pro Tools openly back in the day. The difference is they didn't have internet. They didn't have internet to blog on, or they weren't technologically literate enough to use the internet that was available to blog on how much they hated Pro Tools. Now we're at a point where we have a different environment. People can be way more vocal about what this technology is. Also, another factor that we need to come into is Pro Tools was made for musicians. It wasn't necessarily made to replace them. It was made to help them as a tool. AI has a much more, in my opinion, in the music space. It's not coming from a place of benevolence inherently, and that is a concern. I think we should be very concerned about why someone would make this. As someone who builds technology, I don't separate the founder's intent from the product. I don't. The product is almost like an innocent party. It's like having a baby. You don't judge, oh, the product is just such a bad apple and you had such a great parents. No, everyone looks at that the other way around. You see a bad kid, you look at their parents and you're like, look what you raised, right?
I've heard similar arguments to that about fire as a tool. You can use fire to cook, you can use fire to keep yourself warm, or you can use fire to destroy villages.
Yeah, I don't, it's foolish as a technologist, in my opinion, to look at a technology and say, oh, it's evil. And you say absolutely nothing to the founder. You say nothing to the developers. You say nothing. You don't question their intent. You demonize the product. And that to me is kind of backward because now, bringing it full circle, now, as someone who works in that space, I have to think ethically. How can I use this technology to make sure that the next generation has the best case scenario to be able to take this and it be a part of their lives in a non-destructive manner? Because one part that is kind of controversial, I don't know why it would be controversial, it's obvious. And funny as Ben Affleck had the exact same argument, funny enough. He actually said in a few interviews, but all this AI music specifically is trained off of stuff that we already did. All of these models don't really have the capacity to make something we haven't heard of before. That is like a right now fact. I have this conversation with the developer team that I work with and some of the people that I'm working with now developing Prompt Genius. We have this conversation all the time. We're looking behind the scenes on how some of these models work. It does a very good job of mimicking things that we've already made. It has no imagination to make something new. Same thing with AIs that work in the film industry, same way that work in other industries. It doesn't do anything original. It just does a faster job of something we've already done, which means that we have 100%, it can 100% not be able to compete with us if we make something we haven't made before. And I have a lot of my peers who are like standing on this hill and AI is terrible, blah, 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 blah. And I agree with them because their perspective is preserving things that they've already made. But kids, like students, the young people that I work with, they are I have never met a more we've never experienced another technologically native group of human beings other than Gen Z, right? Because they were born into it. I've never seen a more passive group of people in my life when it comes to they're not only not afraid, they don't care because they're like, it does a good job of making stuff that my parents listen to, but I want to make this cool hybrid genre over here. And AI can't do that. I break them frequently. I stress test some of the models that we play with from time to time on making stuff combinations, and it cannot understand. It doesn't know the difference between Thundercat and Bootsy Collins. It has no concept of the difference between Dorothy Dandridge and Nina Simone. It doesn't, or Beyonce or Erica Badu. It cannot tell the difference. It really doesn't understand it from the way that we understand it. So it doesn't have the creative ability to make something outside of that. It can't put these things together. So if we're making new stuff, it has no place. It cannot compete with you making something that we've never heard before. You want to go make some 90s R&B, you want to go make some 1950s jazz, it can do that all day. But it has to be that hyper specific. And it will mimic whatever popular styles. Another thing that it does that's interesting, it does really bad job with non-romantic languages. So if it's in Arabic, if it's in Chinese, if it's in pick a language that has nothing to do with Europe for the most part, and anything that's you know, popular music, it has a hard time with that. There are people right now who are out there developing models of their own for their countries in the Middle East and parts of Asia because AI can't mimic that. It has a hard time understanding the difference between corridos and reggaeton. The most popular models on the market right now cannot tell the difference between regional Mexican music and Spanish stuff. It cannot tell. And I've tested it because the person that I work with he's a Mexican American guy, and this is his soapbox. He absolutely hates that because he's trying to figure out how to make music from his country and how he grew up, and the tools cannot do it.
To that end, it's a lot of what you're saying. It sounds like you're countering fear with possibility, with opportunities for innovation, with ways to cross-pollinate genres and create hybrid things and all of that. Like, that sounds super exciting. But for someone who is listening to this and perhaps still is like, I don't know, what would you want them to walk away with after hearing this conversation? If nothing else, what is a thought that you are hoping to spark in folks who are hearing this dialogue?
The biggest thing I would hope anybody will walk away with is honestly hope. I would want them to be hopeful. There's a lot of fear mongering right now, and we made these mistakes in the past with fear mongering technology. And now if I'm being honest, the entertainment industry is a slave to it now because we did not take the time, or we did not make the time to think about what we were actually doing as an industry. We have another opportunity to fix that mistake with this new technology. And I wouldn't have known this if I wasn't an active music maker and a technologist at the same time. I'm one of the few people that really sit in between the two as a product person, especially where it's my whole job to be able to fluently make technology that complements music makers and people in my industry. So I have to know both. very well, intimately. This is why it's important. I don't know a lot of other entertainment tech people that can actually make music, let alone be good at it. And I say that having both feet firmly on each side, we should all be looking at this as an opportunity to beat this system and build a better industry on top of it. There are a lot of people who are taking advantage of this time and injecting themselves in the place they have no business being because they don't have our best interest as creatives in mind. They don't. And now when we have probably the most fluent generation in Gen Z that we've ever had in the history of mankind, it's in our best interest to come together in that regard and use this for the tool that it's supposed to be for and treat it like we should have treated Pro Tools, like we should have treated digital downloads, like we should have treated rights management software and all of these different ways that we use the internet now to monetize our work, how we should have treated streaming, how we should have treated this and that. We have an opportunity yet again to use this technology for our actual benefit and not letting the tech bros tell us how we should use it. And that's the I'm grateful to work with someone like Gerald and our team because everyone there is a music maker and we're all aligned with that thought process of we're not going to let this beat us. We're going to tell it what to do. And I'm always with that smoke anyway because I was raised by folks from the civil rights era. So I'm always about that life as a technologist. But I'm not waiting around for someone to tell me how I should use this technology for my career. And I would strongly suggest everyone else in my industry to take the time to be really literate on what it can't do. Everyone's worried about what it could do. And there are far greater things it cannot do than it can do, funny enough, which I admittedly didn't know until I started working as a product person for AI applications. Luckily for my skill set, it really doesn't matter the technology. I'm good enough at my job that it doesn't matter what the technology is. I can figure out how to build something around it. And applying my skills in this space and really working with creatives in this space, it's been freaking awesome. But that is the core thing. It has more weaknesses than strengths. So we should exploit them for our use as an industry, in my opinion.
I really appreciate this perspective. And as you said, it's here. It's a part of what we are going to be with probably the rest of our careers, the careers of the young people. It's here. And this is a very fascinating conversation. So for anyone who would like to find out more about you or the work that you do, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can always hit me up on LinkedIn for the professional people that love LinkedIn. I'm also on IG. Yeah, I guess you'll share that information in here. But yeah, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of when it comes to that kind of stuff. And we're getting ready to really start talking more about the prompt genius work that we're doing and then the prompt house stuff that we're doing, which is the parent company of Prompt Genius. So I'm looking forward to being able to come out more about our partnerships and the people that we're working with. It's a lot of exciting stuff. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This has, again, just been a really relevant and enlightening conversation.
I appreciate you hitting me up, of course. Anything you need, Casey, always. And thank you.
A few things from this conversation with Atlas that stuck with me. First, know what the tools can't do. Atlas pointed out that everyone's fixated on what AI can do, when the more useful homework is learning where it falls short. It struggles with anything original, with hybrid genres, with music outside Western pop traditions. That gap is where artists still have all the leverage. Second, judge the intent, not the tool. Atlas doesn't separate a product from the people who made it. If a technology is built without creatives' interest in mind, that's worth questioning out loud rather than just demonizing the thing itself. And finally, this technological revolution is a do-over. We've been here before with Pro Tools, with digital downloads, with streaming, and the industry mostly reacted instead of shaping the outcome. Atlas sees this moment as a chance to get it right. And that starts with creatives getting genuinely literate about the technology instead of waiting to be told how to use it. For more on the creative economy and the tools shaping it, you can find a deeper analysis over on our Substack. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Farewell, and may all of your creative endeavors flourish. Could Be Pretty Cool News is a Could Be Pretty Cool original production. Created, hosted, and executive produced by Casey Lueders. Senior producer is Liz Moore, and supervising sound editor is Trinity Jackson. Our original theme music was composed by Camille Stennis and cover art design by AJ Johnson. To learn more about Could Be Pretty Cool and discover whatever else we're up to, visit us at couldbeprettycool.substack.com. Thank you for listening.